and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
She's off the front and she's stretching the group, and she's making sure the riders who she knows are really strong in that pack really have to work hard at the beginning of this race today.
This Category 3 race, it's still a long string behind our leaders.
It is.
Category 2, they're closing, and I'd say something, they're coming quite quick.
Jorin Prado at the moment really pushing on now in this Category 2 race. She's got 16 seconds on Victoria. Victoria has Kasani for company. Embring a little bit further back. She's got Hermansen on her wheel and Lam Kong. How long these two can hold their dominance on the climbing, and at what point we see other riders come into form and really show what they can do here. But at the moment, Kolczynski and Fua really dominating this Category 1 race.
Kristen Kolczynski has attacked Fua. They were riding along together, but Kolczynski saw an opportunity as they came through that group, and Fua has responded. They're back together again, panic over.
And if Kong can stay with them, she's going to have really worked hard.
Let's see if Lam Kong can do that. 1.1k separating Kong from Prado with 5k to go.
She sees that UCI banner ahead of her. That is the finish line. Isabella Bryson is going to take the win today in Category 4 on the Sunday Race Club for qualifier number 2 in May.
So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 3 in May. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the action, and my usual partner in crime alongside me in the studio is not here. Emma is off on international duty for the UCI, selected for the mountain bike in Plankarai in Indonesia, but she will be back for the men's race. Do make sure you catch up there, and do give her a watch on the XCE on the UCI World Cup if you get a chance. But today here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club, MyWhoosh, of course, the UCI partner for esports for 2024, 25 and 26. We are heading to Australia to the Outer Loop for our women's race qualifying number 3. Now, this is a very, very common race route for us now. It's one of those race routes that we absolutely love because we have the big hill in the middle, the Canberra climb coming in at 15.3k, a total distance of 5.4 kilometres in climbing with what is an average gradient of 7.6%, but the early slopes go to 13% and the later slopes to 16%. So it's going to be telling. 2 sprints on the way through. After our first sprint, the Sydney sprint, we do have a big dip and a rise. And the start isn't easy either. So a really, really difficult course for our riders to get right. Almost 2 finish lines. First at the top of the Canberra climb, you've got to be in it to win it there. It is possible to bring riders back with small gaps between there and the Canberra sprint, which is the second of our sprint before the run into the finish. But you've got to be quick. You've got to be fast to get back into those groups over the top and onto that big descent. Now, which of our riders will do that? We have 4 race category starts as always on Sunday Race Club with our Category 1 the last to go. The first to go will be Category 4. They're the riders in red. And they are the riders who are going to see us out from the start line and heading out on to the Outer Loop here in Australia. Now, a packed field of riders today for qualifier number 3 in our women's race field. In Category 4, we have the Petit 4 squad. So Nikki Lloyd and Simone Francis representing the Petit 4 squad from the UK and Australia respectively. In fact, we've got 26 riders from 8 different nations on the start list today. Riders to watch out for, well, Jones, Ellis, Bremner, Francis and Bago were the top 5 in that order. In our previous qualifier number 2. In qualifier race number 1, it was Ellis, Bryson, Jones, Bremner and Madeira who took the top 4 squads. If you go back to our finals, it was Jones, Perry, Hamilton, Bryson and Silvestro. Who will be our top 5 today? Who's going to be up in that prize money? Well, time to find out. The riders getting ready to go. The first wave about to set off on qualifier number 3, the final qualifier for May here on the Sunday Race Club. The clock takes down. We're going to watch Katie Bago as we go away from that line. We're on the boardwalks, and the pack of riders now making the way out from the pens. They're going to come up to the crossroads directly in front of them at the moment, and then we're going to see that turn that will take them into wheels, the first of the key parts of this course. Now, if you've not watched the Sunday Race Club before, we have 4 race starts. All riders can draft each other, all riders can see each other. The first riders away, who are the hare to the hounds behind, are category 4. They're on the way round, and they are going to head straight into what is a very nasty climb. Now, this climb is 7%. It's not a categorized climb. It's not long enough. It's not big enough, but it is enough to hurt. And the riders know that. So at the moment, they're coming in as one pack. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a round circular shape. That is our radar view. Imagine being in a big jet looking at the radar, seeing who's around you. They're represented by dots on here. It doesn't ping like sonar. It's all visual, so you can see that. And you can see at the moment each of those riders that are represented by a disc, it's almost one big blob. Now, as we go on to the climb with Kirsten Hamilton, you can see that this group is just starting to stretch, and that is represented on the left-hand side by those dots starting to string out. So you can see it's getting longer, and that's because at the front, the pressure is going on. Hamilton, rider, of course, who has been right up there in our top 5s, currently just tucked at the back of this group as they come in. But this climb being taken with some pace. The right-hand side of your screen, you see our rider's name. You see Kirsten Hamilton is there with the blue banner across her name. In front of her, you can see, and in fact behind her, there's a lot of red chevrons. Now, those red chevrons that keep kicking in are when the riders start putting the power on. You can see Georgine Jones here and Fielder. Alzate also with lots of red chevrons there. And that is when they're going basically into the red. So they're pushing right onto the limits, and it's starting to do damage. Left-hand side of your screen, look back to the left, you can see that the dots have broken up, and we've now got one rider being distanced behind. They've been separated on the climb. As we go over the top, the gradient decreases. We start going downhill. The front starts stretching out. The group stretches out, and this is where, if you're off the back of the group, it's going to extend. Now, this is just a little kicker to start off with. Imagine this same scenario when we get to the top of the Canberra climb, and you've got real problems, because once that front group go over the top, they've got a long descent. Remember, it's 5.5k up. It's also pretty much 5.5k back down the other side. And if you're not in that group, you've got to work really hard to go on. The draft behind the riders is a real thing, so you can basically use less effort now. Good to see that we've got Hamilton and Bryson back together, reunited in the Pain Cave once again. They were separated last week, but they regularly ride together and are down there in the Pain Cave. Both of them regular riders we see up and in the top 5. We're going to see who is going to be on form today. Will it be both? We will see. It's going to depend on the climb. So Hamilton and Bryson down in the Pain Cave. They're in the same place in the United Kingdom. You can see that flag just to the left of Kirsten Hamilton's name. Both looking pretty composed at the moment, with nearly 2 kilometres covered. You can see the 2k marker either on that radar screen at the left, which shows you the distance, the height climbed, and the speed. Or you can also see at the very top centre of your screen, which shows us our riders' numbers. So at the moment in with Jacqueline Kirchner. You can see that Jacqueline at the moment is in the draft, because the Watt numbers, those are the numbers with the W at the back. And that is the power she's putting out. We're in green. That meant she was in the draft. She's gone now with Carla Lenore. She's in the wind. So it's the numbers are in white. Well, let's see who's going to be smart, who's going to be able to stay in that leading group in Category 4 on the right of your screen. We're going to leave them and go to Category 3, our next group of race starters. Now, slightly bigger race field, 29 riders from 16 nations, and it includes our team, the Arctic Hares. So we've got Piela and Geraldo, and definitely an Arctic Hare in Piela from Finland, in fact, with Geraldo from Colombia. We've got the Caramello Koalas, represented by Claudia Hyde from New Zealand. And the Megawatt squad, well, Angel Ann Hadlock, Carolyn Alzat, and Noveline Kekkonen in there. So Hadlock and Kekkonen from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, of course, and the Colombian rider in there is Alzate. We're going to see which of those riders are going to be up there. We have a lot of other riders to watch out for as well. And we'll take you through those once our riders are awake. The Category 3 riders on qualifier race number 3, about to hit the roads Time to find out at the end of our 35 kilometers and 593 meters of climbing who is going to be able to take away those top spots. We're in with Ella Vink. There are real strong riders here who is coming out now. Ella has ridden on this course very, very regularly indeed. And Vink, one of the riders that we know can be right up in the mix at the finish. Now, last time out, we had a top of 5 in category 3. We had Barragan in 1, we had Hadlock in 2, Takaris in 3, De Silva in 4, and Johnson in 5. In qualifier 1, we had Estelle, Hadlock, De Silva, Vink, and Barragan in this. Ella Vink taking a 4th place in qualifier number 1. And when we were back in the April finals, our top 5 were Hadlock, Barragan, De Silva, Estelle, and Johnson. Estelle moving up categories, not in here. Is it going to be Ella's Vink day to be in those top 5? We're approaching the climb. The gradient has kicked up to 4%. This group already a little bit more stretched than we saw in the category 4 riders. And if you look to the left-hand side of your screen at the moment, whilst we keep an eye on the riders, you can see that we now have 3 distinct sets of riders in category 4. They're going underneath the tunnels and out round to the left of category 4, who are the blue dots, the blue discs on that radar screen. There are blue avatars, and hopefully nobody's going to be feeling too blue at the end of this. They're all going to get a performance they want. As we go on the climb, though, I think this is going to do some damage. The pressure is coming on very, very hard at the moment. You can see the numbers going up. The watts per kilo, that is the power to weight ratio of the riders, are very instrumental in showing us just how these riders are riding, just how hard they're going. And we are seeing a big split happening here between the first group on the road, a second group on the road, and then a lone rider behind. And that gap is increasing. So this front group, if they keep pushing, are going to start stretching this out. We're in with group number 1 on the road at the moment. Behind these riders are another group of riders that are going to be trying to chase back on to the group, and then a solo rider. And it may well be that in the first 1.5 kilometers, the first big selection is made. If the second group get back in and they are chasing hard and closing the distance down behind these riders, then they're going to have expended extra energy on the way in to do that. They're trying to get back onto this group. Kekkonen at the moment tucked nicely in this group. You can see at the moment her watts in green, sitting in the shelter, not expending more energy than she needs, pushing through the wind at the front of this group, riding smart. And it is very often that we do see our smart riders finishing the race right up at the top, and they're going to be up there. Even though they might have a lower watts per kilo number, they might have a lower average watts, but they've ridden smart. They've hidden in the wind. They've saved their energy and used it tactically when it's absolutely critical. And that is what makes a real smart rider, using their energy when they need it. And that is really critical on MyWhoosh, on the Sunday Race Club, as it is on all esports. You've got to be smart in where you use your energy. It's no good being a bull in a challenge shop, just charging around everywhere, smashing everybody apart. It's not going to work. Now, Nolan Kekkonen, one of our very experienced riders here, sat nicely in with this group at the moment. And you can just see just putting a little bit of a squeeze on there as she started to head to the back of that group, just to make sure that she sits in that draft there. And Kekkonen with that MyWhoosh jersey on, and looking pretty composed at the moment, just having to stay focused on those riders. 200 watts at the moment, and you can see that heart rate 169. So getting the chance just to sit and recompose herself. So that is our category 3 rider Kekkonen that we've just seen. We're in though now with Carla Lenore in category 4. And remember, of course, our category 4 riders, well, they are on the way round. They are at 5.4k, so they've already gone past our sprint section. Now, dropping from categories 4 and 3 to category 2, they are our penultimate set of riders who are going to be heading out onto the course. Another race field of 29 riders in here. The Team Collide riders, that's going to be Prado and Kasani. Jemin Prado from the Philippines and Ursula Kasani from Lithuania. They are going to be our riders from Team Collide. Will they be able to take on the rest of this bunch? Let's run you through the riders who figured in our top 5 in a second. But as they wait ready to go, you can see these riders just starting to wind up the power. You've got to get the timing right here. Catherine Montoya, you can see going from 100 watts to over 200 watts at the moment that start came down. Now up to nearly 300 watts, kicking out hard from the start here. Montoya really moving up, sitting in third position with that blue headband at the moment. Just going to take that left-hand turn. As they go around there, just holding position at the front of this group. Very smart riding there by Montoya. You saw that power coming down, holding the power steady at about 100 watts on the way in, then kicking down hard as she came in through the start point, going away in category 2. As we move up through these categories, the power that's needed increases, the speed that you need to produce increases, and you've got to stay sharp as you're having all of our race categories are all really competitive. Category 2 on the way in to this climb. Now let's run you very quickly through category 2 results. Last week's category 2 results, it was Prado from Kasani, from Vittori, Hermansen and Embring in that order. Now in the qualifier race number 1, it was Con, Kasani, Walkenhurst, Hermansen, and Prado. You hear some very familiar names. And in our April finals, well, it was, let's have a double check. Yep, Svarstrom from Con, then Embring, then Weston, and then McAlpine. So they were your top 5s in the previous 3 races, so 2 qualifiers and the last finals. We are going to see Julia Walkenhurst in action on this. This is a course that Walkenhurst generally goes very, very well on indeed. In third place in qualifying number 1 was on Wollongong, a very similar course to this. With a relatively short climb. It's not a 15k climb or anything crazy like that. It is a relatively short climb. It is steep, and it's one that you can attack on and really push hard in sections. So Julia Walkenhurst on the left-hand side of your screen here. You can see already category 2 up and over the top of the climb. That first climb, all as one group, and everybody here knows exactly what they need to do. They're all staying tucked into the group, in with the riders. Nobody being distanced at this stage, and you can see that ability, the time spent on the platform. If you're a category 2 rider, generally you're going to have to spend a lot of time on the platform, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time riding to make sure that you know exactly how to push, when to push. And of course, that means that as you move up, you find that there are less and less people able to just blag it by being in there without having that skill. If you're a category 4 rider, you can be really powerful and burn a whole load of energy and still just about staying there. Once you get up to the top end, to categories 2 and 1, that's very, very difficult to do. You'd have to have phenomenal power to be able to waste it anywhere. But if you're a very talented athlete but not very tactical, you might get away with it in a lower category. You're not going to find that as you move up through these categories. These riders are absolutely nailing this now. Catherine Montoya here on the left-hand side of your screen, 145 watts, tucked in with the group. Just checks the watch, checks the heart rate there. 171 it's showing on the screen, so reasonably high at the moment, 84 revs per minute. So not sprinting along, looking pretty composed, pretty smooth at the moment in the playing cave. You can see just focus, making sure that she's keeping an eye on what everybody's doing. Now you'll see that we've got Anna Embring in here. We've got Emily Mabin. We've got Catherine Montoya. And I have to say, Emily Mabin, saw on social media this week, is also dabbling, because she's a Southern Hemisphere rider, is also been having, and it's her words, dabbling, not mine, in some cyclocross. Great to see her riding off-road and getting all muddy, as well as riding indoors. I'm not sure whether Catherine Montoya rides cyclocross. We'll have to find out. We have 4 race categories. We've got category 4 already down in that first big deep dip. We've got category 3 about to head over the bridge and down into that descent. Category 2, well, they're a little bit further away from there. Category 1, they're going to be our final race starters here today. A race field of 18 riders from 11 nations. And that means that our team from Effetto Skier, that is Dorothy Gonzalez-Ruhr, Joanna Kalman, Roberta Bissoni, and Sophie Giovanni, are going to be up against the peak performers. And that is Kristen Kolczynski, Marlene Bjarhead. We've got Sweet Sensations going to try to take away the top spot. That's going to be Amelia Veldt, Catherine Fuhr, and Merle Bruni. Watch out, though, for any one of the riders: Van Hove, Engstrom, Nordin, Tidholm, Manshandi, Holdcroft, Soderstrom, Larson, and Penner. Any one of the whole of the 18-rider field. At the top of the tree could take away a top position here today, could take away the win. It's going to be a select field who go out, who are looking to qualify in for our finals. The last race field in our women's qualifier race number 3 are away from the start underneath the UCI banners, underneath those start banners, and on to this boardwalk that takes them onto the tarmac and that left-hand turn onto the climb. How conservative will they be on the first kicker here today? Will anybody try and put her on early? It's a long way to the finish, 35k, and we've got 15k to the base of the climb. That means that the riders need to make sure that they get there in good shape, because that climb can make all of the difference here today. As I said at the start of the show, you need to almost treat it as a finish line. That's one of Emma's favorite phrases. You've got to treat it like a finish line. You've got to certainly be in it to win it at that point, but you can't afford to be distanced anywhere. The draft means that if you're not in that group, you're not taking a risk, you're having to do all that work yourself. It's going to be very difficult. Tidholm at the moment on the right of your screens, on the right of the bunch, and also on the left-hand side here. Just ticking along, cadence there, 60. It's going to pick up just out of the saddle here, starting to kick in. You can see 64, 66, 68, starting to wind it up as they come in towards the climb. That gradient just bouncing up and down, and Tidholm getting out of the saddle, bouncing on those pedals. That's to use the body weight just to push right through, to get that extra bit of power down through the pedals to just kick over. And really interesting there, Tidholm using her position on the bike to increase the power as she goes up here. She doesn't want to get distance from the group. Really interesting technique, and it's working for her. The group is together at the moment, despite the efforts of Kolchinsky and Kalman on the front. It's not breaking now. Joanna Kalman sat down, just spinning a higher revs, 87, 89, 91. Now, we are going over the top here, so she's going to be winding up the pace here, but what she wants to make sure she does is go down in with this group. It's very easy if you're on the front of the group and you get passed by the group to lose contact. But Kalman nicely tucked in here. You can see sitting in the draft, staying focused. That towel just straight over the front of the stem, the handlebar, just making sure there's no damage to that computer in the handlebars, as she is no doubt working incredibly hard. Kalman on the descent in the lead. This group at 1.5k. Now, we've got a real star-studded field here. So from that race field, let's run you through who's been our winners and our top 5 in the racing category 1. Well, in our last qualifier, it was Catherine Fuhr from Kristen Kolchinsky. Then it was Bruni, Soderstrom and Holcroft. And that was in qualifier 2. And that was on the Alula Heritage Climb. In qualifier 1, which was in Wollongong, we had Fuhr in 1, Velt in 2, Kolchinsky in 3, Soderstrom in 4, and Bjarhed in 5. And in our April finals, it was Fuhr taking top spot again from Bruni, from Holcroft, from Bjarhed, and from Sidlick. Now, that means the rider with the big target on her back is Catherine Fuhr. The rider, all the riders really will want to take the top spot from her. We've had Bruni in 2, we've had Velt in 2, we've had Kolchinsky in 2. We've had a real mix of riders, but Catherine Fuhr is the rider to beat at the moment, and she's a rider who seems to be able to use the courses to her advantage. Whatever the course is, we have got courses with very big climbs. So the Alula Heritage Climb, big climb, real big climb in the middle, real steppy climb as well with some descents in there, a really technical one. We see her up at the front on the real long climbs like we see over in the various ones like the Jebel Hafid and in Colombia. We see it though on these shorter climbs, races like Belgium. She was right up there. And those are really short climbs. We're talking only 1.5k for most of the climbs on the Belgian course. She's still able to get the most out of the power in there. Now we're in with Catherine first. Great shot here, seeing that position on the bike, the setup there as well. So you've got the screen to the far left, you've got the fan directly in front. Now that fan's actually able to be linked to your heart rate. So the harder you work, the more power that's going to kick out, the more fan and the more air that's going to go past you. Now, some riders really love that, makes them feel like they're going faster. It's going to cool you more when you're working harder. Some riders just put it on max from the word go. Not quite sure what Catherine's got. I'm sure we'll find out. Don't forget, of course, We always love you. If you're one of our riders, get in touch. If you're one of our viewers, please do get in touch. You can get hold of me. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. So that's MattFixerPayne at Matt Fixer Payne. And that is on social media. You can also find me on Strava, on MyWhoosh, on there. You can also get in touch with Emma. Always good. Emma loves to hear what everybody's up to, see your stats. So please do get in touch with Emma. It's at biking_Emma. She will be back with us next week for the women's race. Don't worry. And at the moment, as our category 1, well, they're about to head underneath the tunnels, directly underneath where they were climbing over. The category 2 are about to enter the big descent, the first big descent coming in. So they've gone through the Sydney Sprint, which was at 4.5k. They've made their way up onto the bridge. And they swept around that right-hand turn on. And category 2 about to make the entrance down into the underground tunnels, into the underwater tunnels down at the bottom, where you can see category 3 at the moment. And that is our leader in category 3. That is Stephanie Piccolo. She's just at the front of the group. She's just climbing out of those tunnels at the moment on a 5% gradient. Behind her, most of the group are together with the familiar names like Alzap, Beltran, Johnson, Marin, Vink. They're all in that pack. On the right-hand side, at the bottom right-hand side, you can see we've got category 4, Jones, Bago, Hamilton, Kirchner, Vasquez, Lloyd in there. Looks like pretty much everybody that we would expect to see at the front of category 4 is there. We're seeing a lot of familiar names. Category 4, though, well, they are over that ascent, and they are now on that run in towards the climb. And they're currently making their way towards the 12-kilometre marker. Remember, that climb kicks in at 15k. So 4 groups on the road here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. 4 sets of riders all racing towards that finishing line at 35 kilometres. Now, into the sprint we go. This is the first of our sprints. The sprints do not count for the overall general classification. They don't count for the race finish. What they do is they do a number of things. One, they give us an indication of how fast those groups are going, because if category 1 go fastest, their times will be at the top of the standings. If category 4 go the fastest, their times will be at the top of the standings. The time it's taking them to go through this segment, I would expect category 1 to be at the bottom of the standings, if I'm brutally honest, because this is somewhat pedestrian for category 1. You or me, maybe it would be super fast. But for category 1, this is pedestrian. What's it like relative to everybody else? We'll wait to see for the results. And here they come. Well, there we go. It isn't category 1 up at the top of the standings by any stretch of the imagination. It is Gina Di Grazia, one of our regular sprint winners. And Gina will be pulling on the green skin suit in category 3, because she's the fastest rider through the group in category 3. Alejandro Jaramillo in category 2. She's going to take on that green skin suit for the sprint leader to pull over the top of that green jersey. Behind then is a whole raft of riders in category 2, with Weston, Montgomery, Sanchez and co following up behind. But here we are. Gina Di Grazia has exchanged her blue jersey for the green skin suit. You can see it's green shorts and green jersey. So if you were racing outdoors, that would be a all-in-one lycra suit, because it's super fast and better against the breeze. And that means that she is the rider who is the fastest. And you can see Gina just tucked on down over the bars. The rider who's got those. Now, Gina, regularly one of our very, very frequent sprint riders. She takes the bragging rights as being the fastest rider time and time again. And all kudos to her. And it is one of the ways that a lot of the riders will use the Sunday Race Club to hone the skills, the techniques that they want to work on. So it could well be that Gina Di Grazia's got a race coming up where there's going to be a lot of sprints. It might be a points race on the track. It might be something like an off-road race where there's a lot of sprinting out of corners, where you've got decelerations and then harsh accelerations. She's using that sprint to build up that power, to build up the sprint. Great way to do it. Jump on the race club. You're doing it at race pace, because of course when you're out training, if you're just pootling along, taking it nice and easy, then you just sprint every now and then, you're sprinting off a low speed. If you're on Sunday Race Club and you're riding in with the pack, you're not hanging around and then you can do your sprint efforts from a race pace. And that is a very, very interesting when you do that, because you get a different effect. You're going to get more power out. Now, at the moment, Johnson in Category 3, the leader's starting to work the way up to some of our Category 4 riders. You can see a rider in red in front, Rebecca Johnson, riding well. She was right up there, 26th in the sprint times. She's ahead of all but one of the Category 1 riders in her time through the sprint, and it shows you that Category 3 are not hanging around. The Category 1 riders really from about 30th, and they are not on a mission today. Category 1 at this stage. Category 3 definitely are, and Johnson doing a great job here, just keeping in with that group, looking smooth. She's just got the group around her, and it is a pretty select group that we've got at the front. This group, the bunch in Category 3 is already broken up. We've seen that because of the number of riders in this group. It's looking about 6 to 7 riders by my count at the moment. So currently we're going to have what is going to be 6 riders on screen. Behind them, the gaps have opened up, and it means that behind this group, I think it's going to be Solazano, who's the nearest rider at 4 seconds. Then you've got Marin at about 35. So that descent down into the tunnels, the climb out of the other side, has broken this Category 3 race field down. Remember, there are 5 prizes in each of our race categories, and at the moment in Category 3 we're down to 6 riders in the front group, 1 rider behind chasing on within a few seconds. The rest, well, they're nearly half a minute behind. That is going to be very difficult to pull back. Now, that's left-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, have they got this down to a small group? The answer is going to be not a chance, because this is a much bigger pack. And this is critical for a number of reasons. One, you've got more people to look at and watch, keep an eye on. We'll see who's in there. It also means potentially that those attacks haven't been as hard. It means that if you could be faced at the top of the climb with a bigger group, and you've got to be aware of where the biggest numbers are, because the more riders, the more the draft is there, the less number of times you're going to take a turn at the front. So if you're 1 in 15 riders, you only need to do a 1 in 15 turn on the front of the group, in theory. If you're 1 in 4, you're going to be spending a quarter of the time on the front. That's a lot. If you're on your own, you're doing all the work on the front, and that is where you're in the wind, virtual or real, and that is where it's going to really take its toll. Where it doesn't have as much effect is on the climb, and that's where we're heading. We come round this left-hand turn. In front of the riders come the stone towers, the castellated arch that starts the bridge. Midway through the bridge is the start of the climb. This is the Canberra climb. This is 5.4k, 3 distinct steps on here. So a set of stairs has a riser, that's the upwards bit, and a tread, that's what the bit you put your foot on. So we have 3 risers and 2 treads on the way up here. So 2 steps, and then we have the summit, which is pretty quick. The first of those, they're almost equally up the climb, so they're basically 3 equal size steps. However, the bit you put your foot on, it's different each time. There's a longer rest period after the first steep section, and then a shorter period, and then a very small section at the top. This is the climb. This is where our climbers can put the hurt on the riders who are good on the flat. This is where the riders who are on the flat, if they stay in here, if they're a good sprinter, they may well think, well, I'm in with a good chance when we come to the finish, because we've not got too far to go. If I get over this climb, this is the big obstacle. This is the big point where the climbers are going to hurt. Nikki Lloyd of the Petit Four squad leading them out up here. We've got Naves Hoyos right in the mix. Bago is here. Vasquez, Jones, Hamilton, Thompson in here as well. Kirchner's in the mix. Francis is in here. Alzate in here. So we've got a good mix of riders to really put the pressure on. Where are they going to go? Currently 6% gradient pretty much. Now, it is steppy. You can see top right-hand side of your screen, that white line intersected by a vertical yellow line. The vertical yellow line, that is where our riders are. The white line tracks from right to left on your screen, and that means that the riders in front of them, they have what is going to be about 5 to 6% gradient, and then it's going to kick. And that upper slope is 13% on that screen, so that's 13%. Is going to get much, much harder. So this is starting to put the hurt on the lace. This is starting to put the pressure, but it does give the riders and you'll notice if you've ridden outdoors, a little bit of a chance. So as you go into the climb, you feel that pressure, and that transition is a little bit easier because we've got an easier gradient and then the harder gradient. If it's the other way around, and it's straight into a steep gradient and then it eases, that doesn't suit certain riders, and it does suit others. So we're going to see which of these riders like it this way around with a slightly easier transition into the climb. That's in Category 4. They're on the climb. Category 3, they're on the way in. They're currently at just over 14.5 kilometres. They've got less than 1 kilometre to go. They're going to make their way around into the left-hand turn. And they're not all that far off doing that. And at the moment, this looks to me to be the chasing group, because we have got, I think, one rider off the front, if not a group of riders off the front. I'm just taking a look. We're in with Bryson on the left-hand side of your screen. We're with Hamilton on the right. So this is the two that we saw in the garage earlier. Together in there, and at the moment Bryson in with this group 2 on the road in Category 3, Hamilton in with the leading group in Category 4. But they're going to probably see each other pretty soon, I think, because Category 3 should be catching Category 4, I think, on this climb on the way through before the finish, certainly, although at the moment the distance separating them, well, it's still 1.2 kilometres. Category 3 riders, Bryson takes that left-hand turn. She's got company, Salazar in there. I think we've got Gerardo Montoya in there as well. We've got Solazano in there, Geraldo. It's looking like a good group on the left of your screen, making the way in. They can see that polka dot banner. Universal signal that you're on to a climb. Here we go. This is the climb now. Just taking a look at this group, I can see a group of riders, at least one rider in the group in front. We're just going to take a little bit of a look up the road, and as I look up the tarmac, I can't see those riders in front. I'm trying to work out a time gap in front of the riders that we're in with this group. This is Bryson at the moment. She's in with these 5 riders around her. Behind her, the nearest chasers are about 38 seconds, so that is going to be Kekkonen, Zabala, Warren. They're all in that chasing group behind, but these riders have work to do to get themselves up to the front. And in fact, it is a group in front because the Category 3 leaders in front of these riders are splitting up as well, so that is going to make it better for this group of riders behind. Can they catch them back? Well, we're going to have to wait to find out. Category 4 and Category 3 now onto the climb. And that climb, the real key part as they make the way into the finishing section. What happens here will tell us potentially who is looking good, who's looking on form, and who is looking strong. Bryson in here, Marin in here in front of them. Well, the right-hand side of your screen is showing a big, long section of red chevrons, and that is the leading group. Look at that. They are all really having to dig deep. Baco in here, Lloyd Vasquez, Alvarez, Francis, Simkin in here. We're riding in with Hamilton on the right. The riders on the bottom of your screen, that's Hamilton and Bryson, looking good down there. And at the moment, both of them looking down and working hard. You can see they really are focused now, almost in tandem on this climb in terms of their positioning, of body position, of pedal revs. You can see them down on the screen on the bottom left-hand side on the avatars. Well, they're separated on the road. They came in at 1.2k, separating these riders. I think we're going to find that has come right down, which is what you would expect on the climb. Speeds are relatively less. So the categories all on your screens. Let's see how they are rolling at the moment with 4 categories going. Maybe now's a good time to show you just why we always have a look at who's been in the top 5, because they are the top 5 riders who are going to be taking home prize money at the end of the race. And remember, of course, this is all based on the verified results, so it is when the riders have had their results verified, and you need 2 verified rides to get into the finals at the end of the month, and that's going to be next week. Let's see what our riders can win this week and next with our prize money. Now, Category 4, our standard category. First prize today, 2,160 AED, down to 432 AED for 5th. That's today in our qualifier. Next week, you add in not just the individual classification, but into the mix goes the team classification, which means that a Category 14 next week could take away 10,800 AED if they take away the win, and that runs right the way down through 1st to 5th. When we move from 4 to 3, 3,600 AED for the win, down to 720 AED for 5th in the individual classification. And next week, the team's competition goes up because, of course, in Category 3, the prize money moves up to 18,000 AED. Let's have a little look. Guess what it does when we go from 3 to 2. The qualifier race, the leaders are at 6,000 AED for the individual win. It is going to be 30,000, a whopping 30,000 AED for first place in that team competition. So 3 riders to count out of your team of 5 maximum. Who's going to take away the big prize? Well, the biggest prize of all is in Category 1. 10,000 AED for first, 8,000 for second, 6,000 for third, 4,000 for fourth, and 2,000 AED for the win here today. Is 10,000. The win next week, if you're in the winning team, well, it's 50,000 AED, plus if you won the race as well, that's another 10,000. It is a huge prize fund, and that team prize shared amongst the riders. Huge prize funds in the individual classification, in our qualifiers, in the individual and the team classification next week in our monthly finals. Make sure if you're not riding, you do tune in to see who's going to be taking away those big prizes. Now, taking a look at the on the road at the moment, top left-hand side, Category 1, still a big group heading in towards the climb. They've done the descent, they've done the ascent, and that is still looking a good-sized race field. Not sure that we've actually lost pretty much anybody out of that group. Category 2 leaders at the moment, well, that is still a good-sized pack. They are onto the climb. They've done about 400 meters of the climb, and they are looking good. At the front of Category 3, Angel Hadlock on the offensive again, attacking. She is putting time into Piccolo, who's in second. Johnson, Beltran, and Alze and co. They're at 30 seconds. That's the big chasing group. We've seen Hadlock do this before. Attack off the front, put in the gaps. Category 4, bottom right-hand side of your screen, the big leading group. They're on the flat section. They're currently at 17.4k, and this climb tops out at 20.7k. It means that they're on the second of those steps on the way up, and they are on the way through. So the Category 4 leaders at the moment, just making the most of this fast section. It's going to turn right, it sweeps around, and then it goes up. And you can see at the moment the gradient is downhill for Category 4. It's uphill for our leader in Category 3. And that's Angel Hadlock behind her. Piccolo is only 5 seconds behind. So we're going to see whether or not Piccolo can pull that gap back. You can just see Stefani Piccolo from Brazil chasing Angel Hadlock from the United Arab Emirates. They're the 2 leaders in Category 3, left-hand side of your screen. And onto the big screen they go. Piccolo not wanting to give Hadlock too much room. It is a good-sized group behind, but it is fracturing as well behind because Johnson, Beltran, Alze and De Grazia, Thompson and Vic are being separated by seconds. So if this was a big group, let's say there was 6 or 7 riders chasing the 2 in front, Hadlock and Piccolo. Hadlock and Piccolo get together on the descent. That's 2 riders working. Johnson is pushing here, and at the moment she's going to want to try and get across that gap because she's in no man's land at the moment. She's got 1s and 2s behind, so it's not a big group that are going to sweep her up at the moment. You've also got 2 in front, and that's where you want to be. We also have, of course, our Category 4 riders there as well. And our Category 3, you can see how close they are behind Category 4 now. They're closing down the distance because you can see that on the radar screen for Piccolo, not only is she caught back Hadlock, but in front there are no blue discs. There is just the leading group in Category 4. And it may well be, if the Category 3 and 4 riders go together, once they're onto that descent, it's easier on the descent and on the flat sections to stay in the group. If you're a Category 4 staying with Category 3 leaders coming past, that's a really good place to get caught on the top or on the descent. And that will aid the riders in the front now. Category 3 and 4 in that battle, they're very close together. Coming up behind them, Category 2 on the left-hand side of your screen. Ursula Kasani in here. And at the moment, nicely onto this ascent, this Category 2 group. And it's a big pack. it's still not split here. Look at the train of riders behind Kasani here. You've got that big blob at the front. It's a bit like a comet entering the atmosphere. As this group has hit the climb, it's smashed into the atmosphere behind, and there's a big chunk still left, but by ones and twos, little trail behind, just being broken off behind these riders. The leading group, though, Kasani, Vittori, Embry, McAlpine, London, Sanchez, great climber, Daniel in here, Jaron Miller in here, Hermansen in here, Weston in here. This is still a good-sized group that is full of talented riders. Now, just taking a look, Anna Embring. Anna, that is, I think, the best shot we haven't seen for a while of somebody out riding. Outdoors, out in the sunshine, looking good in Sweden at the moment. You can see the Swedish colours, the yellow, the blue, the white there. It's 21 degrees at the moment in Sweden. A little bit of a breeze out there just to keep Anna Embring cool. I don't know whether she's got the fan out there, but that is a great place to be set up out in the sun, taking in the vitamin D, taking in a few of the sun's rays, and also still at a temperature where you can ride. And Embring out of the saddle here, it's clearly spurring her on. As she's out of the saddle, kick it down well. Now, she's going to try and kick over the top into this flat section, and then she'll sit back down again and have a look and see what damage has been done. We currently have Kasani, Embry, Vittori, Sanchez, and Neves. They are all really close. That's about 5 riders in there. Behind, there's a group at about, 6 or 7 seconds at the moment. We'll see what happens when they go into the flat and onto the final section of the climb. It's not going to be long. Category 1, however, they're just on the way into the climb. They've gone underneath the polka dot banner, so they're on to the climb. And if you're new, in case you were wondering, yes, at the top of the climb, just like we award a green skin suit for the sprints, we award a polka dot skin suit for the climbs. And because we have one categorised climb today, it's all on what the riders do on this climb of the Canberra climb. 5.4k in total. At the moment, the riders on the way through. It tops out at 20.7 kilometres into this route. Our leading group in Category 1 just starting to stretch out now. Come back to Category 1. Once we get a little bit further up the slopes, we're in with Category 3 leader. This is Angel Hadlock. Now, she's just catching Alvarez and Kirchner here. They're the riders in the red. Behind her, as the gradient's gone back up, Hadlock has put a little bit of a gap back into Piccolo. It's 8 seconds, but you can see that is not very far in terms of distance. Simple physics is, simple I say, it's not something that I was ever super good at school, but the basic physics is, as you go uphill, for the same time, you'll have less distance between the riders. If you're on a downhill, for the same time, you'll have a bigger distance because the speed is higher. If you're not sure, ask the kids at home because they'll have been taught it more recently than I was. Angel Hadlock climbing well. Got an 8-second gap, starting to open that gap up. She's dropped Alvarez, she dropped Kirchner as she came flying past them. She can see the leaders up in front. That is the big group in front. And it looks like Katie Bago at the moment is being dropped out of the leading group in front. So Katie Bago in Category 4 just starting to lose contact. That's the rider directly in front of Angel Hadlock here in the blue jersey, the leader in Category 3. Piccolo is in second place in Category 3 with Johnson in third. So those positions are the same as they were on the earlier slopes. However, the time gaps have started to stretch, with Johnson now half a minute down on Hadlock. Piccolo 8 seconds or so, still in touch, but Hadlock is now coming up towards the very front of the race. She's made up those 5 minutes on the Category 4 riders, and she's going to make her way in. This great shot from the overhead here. You can see Georgina Jones leading this up. She's got Francis Vasquez, Lloyd and Co, Hamilton, Alzate, Simkin in there, but they are being intersected and being passed by the Hadlock Express train. And at the moment, Hadlock making her way up. You can just see got to the front of that group, flew through the group with that little bit more assistance that you get from that drafting, and then makes her way up. She's going to go to the front of the race. Jones, the leader, about to be passed here. She'll remain the leader in Category 4, but she has got a pack of riders behind, and Hadlock now has put this group between her and the chasing rider behind. But we will see if Piccolo can close down on Hadlock. We are working our way up here. We're nearly heading to the top. We've not got far to go to get to the very top of this climb. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, you can see that we have got Category 1. They're on your big screen. Marlon Bjarhead right in the mix. Holcroft, Larson, Penner. Penner, relatively new rider to the platform, moving her way up through. Marlon Bjarhead, though, looking very, very strong here and riding really, really well. One of our regular riders, regularly right up in the mix at the front here. And interestingly, not choosing the Embring route, although still in Sweden. Not going outdoors, staying inside that pain cave. Some riders don't want that distraction from the outside, they just want that pain cave. I certainly know when I was when I race, I can see the race. That's it. Nothing else around me. I want that focus. I don't need people coming up to me, talking to me. I want to be looking straight ahead at that and just staying focused, taking in the information you need. That's certainly what we were seeing. I think they're from Bjarhead right in there now. Tidholm, who we saw earlier, another Swedish rider, nicely into the mix here. Tidholm looking strong. And you can see out of the saddle here again, sitting around about that same cadence that we saw on those steeper sections earlier on, about 60 pedal revs. So we saw Tidholm at the very start of the show on that very first climb out of the saddle, having to kick. And when we went over the top of that very first climb, really revving it up, staying with the group. Tidholm at the moment on the back of this group and really pushing hard on those pedals. She'll know that she's got some respite coming up because we're going to get to one of the flattest sections. It will change and go a little bit easier for a short while. That's going to be pretty key, I think. If you can only stay out in that saddle for so long, most people can't stay out the saddle climbing for more than about a minute or so. After that, the lactic acid just gets too great. Most people will sit back down again. Not everybody, because that's a great thing. Everybody rides differently, just like everybody's different. Outdoors, it's exactly the same on esports. Now, Kasani with Vittori, with Hermansen, with London, and it's going to be Sanchez behind. That is currently your top 5. Embring's in 6 and right on the heels of Marion, so very, very close behind them there. But right up at the front of the Category 2 race, we have got 6 riders in contention. So it's Kasani in 1, Hermansen in 2, London in 3, although that's just changed because we've got Hermansen just going over the top of London. You can see how close that group is behind our 2 leaders, Kasani and Vittori, with a slight gap here to Hermansen. And Hermansen, well, she knows she can't afford to let that gap go. A rider who we've seen racing really, really strongly, Lisa Hermansen, of course, a very experienced rider on MyWhoosh, a rider who's been to MyWhoosh HQ. And we saw some great pictures of Lisa doing the testing part of that verification process, making sure that all the riders are able to produce exactly what they're doing. It was great to see her in action doing that. You can watch that back. Lots of videos available for all the previous racing. And Category 2 at the moment, well, they are coming up on Ella Vink at the moment in Category 3. Vink on this climb, just distance from the leaders. We saw Hadlock go really open this up, but at the moment, Vink is going to be the next rider in Category 3 to see the leaders come in and through. And as they go in past Vink, you can see the 2 leaders going through. Kasani leading with the white helmet, with the blue bandana. That is Serena Vittori. So they are the front 2 riders, Lithuania and Italy represented in the front 2. Hermansen's just gone past with that white cap on, gets out the saddle to sprint onto the wheels. So Hermansen with the white cap comes up to those leading group. Behind them then, it is going to be Sanchez Embring. We're in with Wendy McAlpine at the moment. She's a little bit further down. She's sitting in what is going to be 7th place at the moment. So nicely inside the top 10. Got a little bit of clear air in front, and McAlpine has company as well. We're just in with Wendy McAlpine. She has got Daniel with her. She's also got a couple of other riders. She's just gone past there and looking good at the moment in this group, going past a number of Category 3 riders. Marin Montoya, Geraldo, the rider she's gone past. She's got a fair old group behind her and a fair amount of air in front. So going to be about focusing now. McAlpine without a rider to see, because of the twist, because of the turns on this course. Sharp left-hand turn going to be coming up, then a right, then another sharp left. Because of these switchbacks, you can't see the riders in front. Very difficult to find something to focus. That's where you've got to really pull on your inner strength. You've really got to stay focused and keep on pushing. So McAlpine with Jared Miller chasing behind, only a little bit behind her. That's the rider in the green skin suit going to be coming up there, chasing the leaders. The leaders on the left-hand side of your screen. It's only showing us 100 meters between the two riders, but because of the terrain, Kasani along with Vittori out of sight. Let's go up to category 1, or should I say go down to category 1, because they are behind still. They are chasing at the moment. We have Kolczynski, Bruni and Fua. The first three riders, a slight gap back to Bjarhead, Penner, Tidholm. They are the riders behind, but we started off the day on those start sheets with 18 riders possibly going to be in contention. We are down to 6. So it is Fua, Kolczynski, Bruni, Bjarhead, Larson and Penner. They are your 6 riders. They are working their way up. They've just gone past another of our category 3 riders here. They'll have their sights set on Jenny Tan. In fact, they're going to go blasting past Tan at the moment, and Solizano, because the pace is on here. They're climbing. The power is down. We've just seen Fua at 6.2 watts per kilo on this section of the climb. You come around this left-hand turn, and when we watch this on the screen, it is very easy to see these riders kicking because of the watts. What we don't see is we don't see what it feels like when you come around. You go around that corner, you feel underneath that gradient. It maybe increases by only 0.12%, but what you find, that is really going to take its toll. And look at this, Fua on the left-hand side of your screen, out of the saddle, kicking down on those pedals, really revving this up, 74 revs per minute, so dancing on the pedals. And that is a term that's used for climbers all over the place. A good climber can dance on those pedals. They're not just forcing them around. It's, you know, just quickly ticking along. Looks really, really good when they get it right, and that's what we're seeing. Sits down, keeps on revving, trying to keep it smooth, trying to keep it focused. This group, they are starting to pull clear. We did see Bjarhead only a couple of seconds behind. It's now gone to 5 seconds. So our leading group at the moment, Bruni, Kolczynski and Fua, leading this out as they come up the climb. It's the same 3 we had on the Heritage Climb course last week at the front of the race once again. The race before, we saw Fua and Kolczynski, but we saw Felt in there instead. And in fact, the race before that, it was Fua, Bruni and Holcroft in the front for the April finals. Now, we know that Kristen Kolczynski is on climbing form. She set a new course record. I think it was the final hill climb that she was doing, I think, of the season in America. She beat a course record that had existed since 2012. And that is how far it's been there for 12 years, the course record on this hill climb. She's on fantastic climbing form. But at the moment, she needs to unlock the key to beat Fua. Fua, at the moment, last 3 races, 3 wins for Fua, very comfortably. Or maybe not so comfortably, but definitely down in the record books. Another rider who is on form, Angel Hadlock, up against Stefani Piccolo. Piccolo at the moment, the rider with the white helmet, shadowing Hadlock with the red hair as they come up. They're interchangeable, as you can see on the screens. They can see the polka dot banner. They've got 36 seconds to Rebecca Johnson, and then we've got a huge pack of riders in. They're a minute down to the category 4 riders that they've passed, and the nearest category 3 rider behind them is a long way down. We are talking well over a minute behind, so our top 3 should be set with Piccolo, with Hadlock and Johnson. But this is cycling, and we all know in cycling pretty much anything can happen. At the moment, you can just see that the leaders in category 3, the leaders on the road are about to come over the top. Chasing behind, you can see the leaders in category 2. This is Vittoria, Cassani and Hermansen. Another 3 riders group there. Remember, though, we've got lots of riders in groups, and that can change things. Big descent. It's 14.3k from the top of the climb, where our riders go through now. Piccolo taking the fastest time up the climb from Hadlock. So Piccolo goes into the race ahead here of Hadlock. Hardly anything separating them on that climb. 0.016. So that is 1/100th of a second, 1.3 of a second, separating these two riders almost exactly the same time up that climb. They came into it together, they went out of it together, and just positioning, changing those riders' time. They're into this descent, they're on the way down. You've about 5k of descent. Then you have got the run to the finish, and from the summit to the finish, a total of 14.3k. Now, Johnson goes over the top, third place on the Canberra climb in category 3. She's being chased, and the group that is chasing contains these category 2 leaders of Kasani, of Vittori, and I was going to say Lisa Hermansen, but she's just at the back of this little group here. So quick reminder for you, Vittori has the blue, the Italian Azzurri colours of the blue bandana. She's going over the top. She'll take the fastest time over the top of the climb. She does. She's got that polka dot jersey. So it's Vittori with the polka dot skin suit in category 2. You've got Kasani with the white helmet in category 2 going over in second, and Lisa Hermansen with the white cap going over in third place. Then we've got a category 4 leader, Simone Francis, the fastest in category 4 on the climb. Georgina Jones, then Simpkin, Hamilton, Vasquez and Lloyd. So we have 6 riders in category 4 going over the top basically together. Lloyd, Vasquez, Hamilton, Simpkin, Jones and Francis. You have got 3 riders in category 3. Piccolo, Hadlock with a gap to Johnson. Then it's Beltran, then it's Elsa, who has the big gaps. Category 2, Vittori, Kasani and Hermansen are over the top, and nobody else has gone. And at the moment we are in with Isabella Giraldo. She is on the climb. She's being passed by category 1 leaders Bruni, Kolczynski and Fua. And again, they can all now see the banner at the top. Giraldo, Isabella Giraldo out of the saddle here, really kicking down on those pedals. Going to be trying to make sure that she can keep that pace going all the way up the climb out of the saddle, and using that bike and making sure that she can get up there and stay with this group. She won't want to get distance. She won't want those gaps to go too far on the climb. She'll know that she can make time on that downhill if she can stay in with a group. It's a group of 3 though in category 1. Fua, Bruni, Kolczynski, Catherine Fua currently up on the front of this group with the black helmet. Then you've got Kolczynski and it's Bruni on the front with the black helmet. Then it's Fua, then it's Kolczynski at the moment, but they are changing places pretty much for fun at the moment because they are on the way up to the top of the climb. They have really opened up the gap on everybody else. The fastest climb of the day so far, Serena Vittori. She's leading the climb segment from Kasani, Hermansen, Sanchez and London, all category 2 riders. But the leaders in category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen behind, you can see that Larson, well, she's got the banner in the sight. She's got a number of riders in front of her and behind, but she can't quite get back. She's the rider currently sitting in 4th position, and there is a huge gap between the front 3 and the chasing riders behind. Bruni, Kolczynski, Fua, they're going to come up to the top of the climb. Which rider is going to put the fastest time in for the climb? I think Fua wants that. She should be taking away the skin suit. She's got a big enough gap, I think, and that will mean she's easy to identify. She pulls on the polka dot skin suit. So it's Fua who takes away the fastest time from Kolczynski and Bruni. All 3 of the category 1 leaders coming in over the top of the climb together. Now they're into the descent. Now they've got to push. This is where they've got to really start to work and make sure that they use the speed, the momentum that's taken over the top of the climb to continue to open up the gap. They're descending at speed behind them. You can see none of the other category 1 riders are over the top. So Fua from Kolczynski and Bruni, 17 minutes 14 seconds for the fastest time up there. They are nearly 3 minutes quicker than category 2. Serena Vittori from Kasani and Hermansen with Sanchez, London and Embring going over the top. Not very much separating the riders through there. Vittori, Kasani, Hermansen, Sanchez looking good. So London in there, and Embring, who we saw outside, in there. Immediately behind London and Embring, you've got McAlpine and co. But just coming in at the top, Nellie Larson coming over in 4th place. You can see the time she's given away on that climb, 52 seconds behind. The time gap at the summit, 52 seconds from 1st to 4th in category 1. The leaders on the descent, they're going to try and make the most of that speed, open up this gap. They've got 3. Larson is a single rider behind. Bjarhead has gone over the top. She is also a solo rider. And it looks to me like the advantage is with our leaders in category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen. Now, right-hand side of your screen, we're in with Angel Hadlock and Stefani Piccolo. They are the 2 leaders on the road. They're the 2 leaders in category 3. They are well on this descent, and Hadlock on the front once again. Now, Angel Hadlock, if you've been watching, you'll know that we've seen Hadlock on our screens quite a few times, because she is a regular rider on the Sunday Race Club, and at the moment she's got a good gap with Piccolo from Johnson. It's over a minute now separating 1st and 2nd from 3rd place in category 3. They are well on the way down the descent. In fact, they've just bottomed out the descent. They're down at the base of that descent, and they have got less than 10k to the finish. The category 2 leaders, they've got, well, they're not far behind. They're on the way. Now, this is Vittori and Kasani. They're 30 seconds down on Johnson. Behind them, they've got Jones. They've got Hermansen at 9 seconds. Are Vittori and Kasani going to be able to push on here to leave Hermansen behind? It is a reasonable gap between the two, about 9 seconds at the moment between Hermansen, Kasani and Vittori. Difficult to say what's going to happen here, because it depends on who pushes where, who's feeling strong after that climb, and whose legs can pick back up again after that descent. That's going to make things very, very interesting. And it does pose a potential threat for Hadlock and Piccolo, who are on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, because if Vittori and Kasani in category 2 pick up Johnson from category 3, they could pull it further up to the front. Going to be very interesting. So top right-hand side, bottom left-hand side of your screen. Real pursuit going on at the moment. Sandwiched in between these two is Rebecca Johnson, who could well get caught. Now, in category 4, Georgina Jones leading this out at the moment from Melissa Simpkin, from Simone Jones. She's just seen Lisa Hermansen go past Jones here. And Jones will want to try and make the most of this. You can just see really pushing at the moment, trying to stay in the wheels of Lisa Hermansen. But I think that's a big ask as we go on to the climb. Jones from Simpkin, from Lloyd, 10 seconds separating the top 3 in category 4. In category 3, we've got a real battle on here, because it was 1 minute and 8 between Johnson and the leaders. It's still holding at about a minute. And I think if Johnson's smart here, she's probably not going to lose anything by gambling here, but she could win, because she may well see the 2 riders on the left of your screen come up to her. So if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that we've got Kasani and Vittori. They are on the bridge into the city. They have in front a blue dot. That single blue dot is Rebecca Johnson, who is currently 18 seconds up the road. In fact, we can see it in a bit more detail now. Left-hand side of the screen, the arrowed disc in the centre of that radar view is basically Ursula Kasani. She's got company, Serena Vittori. Category 2 riders, absolutely flying. 20 seconds in front of them is a rider who would benefit from being caught and then pulled up to the leading group, who is 1 minute down the road. These two also have the incentive to keep riding, because behind, Lisa Hermansen is chasing really hard behind. You can see Lisa Hermansen's numbers at the moment, 4 watts per kilo, 4.8 at the moment. Chasing Kasani, chasing Vittori, who are nearer the 2 to 3 watts per kilo. Hermansen on a mission here to close the gap down. She's going to come into the station here, into the tram stop. Looking at the moment, to me, like Hermansen is continuing to wind. So look at this 4.4 watts per kilo. She doesn't want to be settling for 3rd place at the moment. She thinks she can get herself back into contention here. It's 7 seconds up the road to the leaders. She is keeping this gap down. She's having to work, though, because if she doesn't, they are going to take advantage of the fact that there are 2 riders together. Now, the gaps are coming down, because the gap to Kasani is 7 seconds down. The gap to Johnson is 18 seconds. That means, by my maths, we've got about 12 seconds between Johnson and Vittori. That was 20 seconds not all that long ago. The leaders are 1 minute 30 down the road, so this is all has the potential to come back together as in category 2. and in Category 3. Category 4 behind, well, they are now in their own private battle, I think, unless they're passed by the leaders in Category 1. And it looks to me like Kristen Kolczynski on the kick again. So Kristen at nearly 8 watts per kilo on this little riser. She's trying to use the terrain here. So the moment it goes uphill, we are seeing Kolczynski trying to use this to her strengths. Kolczynski, we know on hill climb form, being answered by Merle Bruni. Behind then is Catherine Fua. Now, Fua, quick reminder, is the rider to beat on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club at the moment. They are all trying to knock Fua off her perch, off top spot. Very, very difficult to do because Fua can sprint. She worked on the climbing. She can now climb like an absolute angel. She's absolutely flying, and she really doesn't seem to have a chink in her armour. Kolczynski trying to use her strengths to break Fua, to keep the pressure on there. But that time it was answered by Merle Bruni, and Fua just stayed on the wheels there, has come back up to the front. A quick reminder, Fua in that polka dot skin suit, Bruni with the black helmet, Kolczynski with the white helmet. That's the easy way to spot all three riders in the front of Category 1 apart. So a quick reminder, Fua in the polka dot, Bruni in the black helmet, we've got Kolczynski in the white helmet. They're coming into this same station. This is where we saw Lisa Hermansen chasing through not all that long ago, a little bit further up the road, trying to close down on the leaders on the road. I think the leading group of what was going to be Hermansen chasing down Vittori and Co. It's starting to come down that gap, and I think they're going to be on the way. At the moment, the gap between the leader overall, that's Angel Hadlock with Stefani Piccolo, 2 leaders. They're leading there at 30k. Behind the Category 1 leaders are at 28k, so 2k pretty much separating the front of the race from the front of Category 1. All of our leaders are on the way through. Now, this is where the end is going to be critical. So let's have a little think here about what's coming up in front of our riders, because it's going to be a mixture of who is where on this course. So we've got Hadlock Piccolo leading. We've got Johnson chasing. She's still a minute down on them. Then we've got Vittori in Category 2 with Kasani, with Hermansen chasing them. Then we've got behind them the Category 1 leaders. They're coming through. And we've got the Category 4 leaders. What they do and where they do it is going to be critical. We're into the last 5k for all of our riders. Now, the Canberra sprint is going to come in, as you can see, at 31 to 31.4k. That is only going to give us really, it's going to be really critical in terms of what is happening out on the road. None of our riders have hit that point yet, so it shows you how compressed they are. But as you can see, far right hand side of that screen, we've got a bumpy section. We've got to climb in. We have 2 real possibilities. We have the climb after first section of climbing after the Canberra sprint, and then the second section of climbing. But they're not huge. So if you're a climber like Kolczynski, you've not got a lot of chances to use that to your advantage. And you do have places to come back between the first and second section there. It's very subtle, it's very slight. But the devil is in the detail of this course, because it isn't pancakes. Like, you could really be mistaken by looking at the climb and thinking, well, that outshadows everything. At the moment, the first riders just hitting the Canberra sprint, Hadlock and Piccolo, have gone through the Canberra sprint, so they are already the other side of 31.5 kilometres out on course. But behind, this is a chasing group on the left-hand side of the screen, and Vittori and Kasani have picked up Rebecca Johnson. That's the rider in the blue. 3rd place in Category 3. Now, big if, Johnson can hold on to those wheels and work with Vittori and work with Kasani, who want to stay ahead of Hermansen, who's only 5 seconds down, they could close down on Hadlock and Piccolo, who are on the right-hand side of your screen. The time gap between them at the moment is exactly 1 minute. So 1 minute separates the group on the left from the group on your right. The group on your right aren't going to want to get caught, because there is somebody in their category behind. They've got tough terrain. You can see they're about to hit one of our climbing sections. This is the first of those climbing sections coming in. It's not huge, but it may well play to the advantage of Hadlock and Piccolo, who, don't forget, went away on the big climb of the Canberra climb, and they opened that gap there. That's where they put the gap into Johnson. Johnson has got to get that gap back down. She needs to use the terrain to her advantage. She is making the most at the moment of Kasani and Co. And I tell you something, they can't be moving that fast, because There's somebody moving faster. Lisa Hermansen, who we saw earlier on chasing at 4.5 watts per kilo, is currently up at 5 watts per kilo, making sure that she gets onto this express train. They're going to become the second group on the road with Hermansen in there, because surely there's no way that Hermansen's not going to get on those wheels. These last few meters are painful at the moment, but she's got to make that catch. She'll want to get into the draft. Watch the watts numbers. At the moment, they're white. She needs to get in the wheels. All the time that she's sat out the back here, she's expending extra energy. If you're in the wheels, if you're in the draft, you're saving energy. At the moment, Hermansen at she's going to hit nearly 300 watts. That's 299 there. But they're coming into a climb where the speed will come down, the front group will compress and come back towards her the moment that they hit this climb. There we are, the gradient goes down, the climb gradient increases, the group in front slows off first, and that is going to allow Hermansen the chance to get there. She's got to keep pushing, not yet in the draft. Has it been too much for Hermansen? We'll have to go back and see. Meanwhile, we're back with the 3 leaders in Category 1. They are in the sprint section. You can see how close this is all going to get coming into the finish. Kolczynski, Fuhr and Bruni. So they're going to be coming out of this sprint at 31.3k into a 35k race. It's going to give us a good indication of who is coming through at pace. They've still got quite a few riders in front of them in terms of the overall race, in terms of who's out on the road. But don't forget, of course, the prizes coming out in each individual category. Now, Kristen Kolczynski has taken the sprint jersey there for the points. It was Bruni who had the fastest time, 24.782. Kolczynski was second, and the points that she got in that put her into the green skin suit. Fuhr comes through in the polka dot skin suit in third place. They're your top 3 coming through at the moment. Remember, this is live. Jarmila, Hermansen and Daniel, the fastest 3 riders in Category 2. That all those times and the positions will update as those riders come chasing in. Because it's at the end of the race, everybody's racing in now. Hadlock and Piccolo up over the top of the climb. They currently have what is a 300-meter lead. Now 400 metres between them and Kasani. Kasani kicking on in Category 2, left-hand side of your screen. She's wanting to break Vittori, and I think Hermansen has broken here because Johnson has been dropped from this group on the climb in Category 2 leading group with a chaser in Category 3 who's chasing the 2 riders on the right of your screen. Kasani has attacked, she's pushed on. Vittori is not that far behind her. I think she's going to make contact as well. But Hermansen is at 7 seconds. So here comes Vittori in the polka dot skin suit onto Kasani's wheel in the green. Hermansen, she was in touching distance. She could have reached out and put a hand in and taken a gel out of the pocket of the riders in front. But she then dropped back as they hit the base of the climb. We saw as she came in, she couldn't quite make contact. She couldn't get in the draft, and that effort to go back on has cost her. She's now at 5 seconds behind. They are chasing the riders in front, but we are 45 seconds of gap for what is going to be very little time indeed, because we are at 34.3k for Angel Hadlock, for Stefani Piccolo. Piccolo in the polka dot skin suit is behind Hadlock here. They're going to do the turn here. This is a right hand turn. They drop down and then it's a sharp left into the finish. We take this right turn now. This is a long drop. We're going to go dropping in. 500 meters to go. He's basically coming up to this road junction to the crossroads. Piccolo is on the back foot at the moment. She's going to need to wind because they take this left-hand turn and the finish comes fast. We're into 300 meters to go for Piccolo. Hadlock moves up to 3.6. Piccolo's kicking at 5.2. Hadlock starts to kick, and what a kick. That was 9 watts per kilo came out of Hadlock there as she came into the finish. 9 watts per kilo should be enough to do this. She goes under the finishing line. Angel Hadlock takes the win here in qualifier race at number 3. What a win for Hadlock. She gets the full collection of jerseys, the yellow, the green and the polka dot behind. It's going to be Piccolo taking second place, and she goes through with the polka dot. So fantastic riding there by Angel Hadlock and by Stefani Piccolo. They take the 1-2 in category 3. This is the Category 2 leading group. They're in this same section. They're on the way to this left-hand turn. And this is waiting game now. Kasani up at 7 watts per kilo. Vittori starts to wind up. Kasani in the green with the white helmet comes around the corner first. And I think Vittori is done for here. She's got to put something massive in. Kasani kicks at nearly 11 watts per kilo. Ursula Kasani takes a win in Category 2 ahead of Serena Vittori. The sprint and the overall win going to Kasani. Vittori taking the polka dot jersey. Lisa Hermansen, who is in touching distance of the race lead, comes through, takes third place. A brave chase from the Swede, but it's not to be her day. Behind Lisa Hermansen, we are going to see, I think, Rebecca Johnson going for third place in the Category 3 race. She was pretty clear, but we're going to drop in here with our leaders in Category 1. Now, 3 leaders, a real battle in that Category 1 race. On the left of your screen, you've got Kolchinsky in the green skin suit. You've got Fua in the white skin suit. You've got Mel Brody in the yellow with the black helmet. They're all basically together. Right-hand side of the screen, we've got Simkin, we've got Jones, we've got Francis. They are your leading 3 riders in Category 4. Could well be that battle is going to come down to those riders, but they've got Jones in there as well, and Jones is a rider who we know can sprint. So 4 riders in the Category 4 lead. They're about to be caught by the leaders in Category 1. They've taken that right-hand turn. We're now at 400 metres to go. How early are they going to lead us out? Can Catherine Fua take another win here today? Is she going to be beaten by Kolchinsky, who's got the sprint jersey? But it's Bruni who leads them out. Mel Bruni has gone first. She's decided to kick first, but she's got Fua on her wheels. Fua goes round the outside as they come round the left-hand turn. The banner is in sight. Catherine Fua is going to come through. She's going to take the win. Fua does it again. Catherine Fua takes the win here today. Qualifier number 3, a clean sweep of all of the qualifiers. Behind it is going to be a second place, I think, for Bruni. We're going to let this update itself. It is Bruni in second and Kolchinsky in third. So the Sweet Sensations team putting 2 riders into the top 3, with Fua and Bruni taking 1, 2 respectively. 1 hour 35 seconds for the 35 kilometers out on course. What a ride by her. Kasani from Vittori, from Hermansen in Category 2. In Category 3, it was another fantastic race that we saw unfold in front of us, and gotta say, a fantastic ride there in Category 3 as they came in through the finish. Johnson it was who took third place in that one. So keep your eyes on the results. It is very easy to get to. It's www.mywhoosh.com/results. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action in the women's race here in qualifier race number 3. Please do make sure you join myself and Emma Martin, who will be back for the finals next week when we have our team competition as well. Going to be a fantastic race. Please do watch and enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you very, very much to our riders for keeping us entertained. I hope you all recover well for next week. Thank you very much for the team behind the scenes for putting all of those pictures together and, of course, making MyWhoosh happen. Please do jump on board, download on iOS, Android, or on Windows. Get in touch with me. It's at MattFixerPayne. Follow MyWhoosh at MyWhoosh across social media. It's time for me to take a quick break. I'll be back. Emma Martin will be joining me as well for the men's race here on MyWhoosh. But for now, stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.